Under that sound, the Fire Sparrow clan's sacred land, on the verge of collapse, was suddenly engulfed in an indescribable, searing heat. Even the nearby palm print was slightly delayed by the heat wave. The Palm Sovereign's expression changed drastically. At that moment, Wang Lin let out a low roar that shook the heavens. With a thunderous sound, the ancient umbrella slowly unfolded. As it did, a world-destroying flame erupted from within, a flame without color, so much so that it could no longer be called a flame, but a kind of energy, a formless fiery aura. As the umbrella continued to open, about 1/10 of it unfurled. When the palm print drew near, this fiery aura exploded out, immediately colliding with the palm print, which instantly shattered with a deafening roar. The fiery aura didn't hesitate in the slightest. It spread slowly in all directions, and wherever it touched, everything was annihilated, turning into nothingness. World destruction. This was the power of world annihilation. The shockwave, stirred up by the collision of the vermilion bird source spirit and the Palm Sovereign's divine abilities just moments before, rampaged through the starry sky. Now, this shockwave collided with the fiery aura, which instantly crushed the shockwave, consumed by the flame. Burning world ancient umbrella. The Palm Sovereign's face turned ashen. Already severely injured, he had first miscalculated when using the moon fishing in the well technique, and then was heavily wounded by the vermilion bird source spirit. After sealing the source spirit, he now faced the terrifying burning world ancient umbrella wielded by Wang Lin. At this moment, his injuries worsened. His expression twisted into a grimace as he performed hand seals, placing them on his shoulders. His eyes burned with madness as he bellowed and forcefully pulled outward. Pain surged through him, but he tore the armor that had fused with his physical body from his skin. With a flick, the armor shattered into gray light, transforming into a massive hand that appeared in the world, growing to an immense size. The burning world ancient umbrella is not so easily opened. This armor, gifted by my master, is a primordial treasure. The umbrella, not yet fully opened, can be resisted. The Palm Sovereign roared, as the gigantic hand formed from his armor surged toward Wang Lin, crashing with unimaginable speed. The hand was so vast that it nearly obscured the sky. It approached like a star collapsing, striking the fiery aura spilling from the umbrella. The sound of thunder erupted violently. The hand pierced through the fiery aura, which began to dissipate rapidly. The hand itself began to disintegrate as it moved toward the umbrella, now fully opening. In an instant, the hand, shrinking in size as it vanished, collided with the umbrella. Burning world ancient umbrella, break for the sovereign. With a deafening crash, the umbrella shook violently. Wang Lin coughed up blood, his vitality instantly thrown into chaos. His cultivation was still insufficient to unleash the umbrella's full power. Having managed to open it by 1/10, allowing the Palm Sovereign's palm to dissipate half, that was already his limit. Blood sprayed from his mouth, and Wang Lin was thrown back, without his vitality to keep the umbrella in place. It began to slowly dissipate, not from the hand strike, but of its own accord. Yet, just as the umbrella seemed on the brink of disappearing completely, Wang Lin's expression twisted with madness as he roared, "Explode." At his command, the nearly disintegrated umbrella suddenly trembled, and with a roar, it exploded. A force capable of destroying everything surged from within, spreading outward. The entire Fire Sparrow clan's sacred land was obliterated. The palm print, chasing after Wang Lin, was immediately consumed and shattered. Outside the sacred land's entrance, the Fire Sparrow ancestor, meditating in a cross-legged position, suddenly opened his eyes, startled, and turned to look at the blurry gate. But in the instant he did, the gate collapsed with a loud explosion. Countless fragments shot out with the force, heading straight for the Fire Sparrow ancestor. This happened too suddenly for the Fire Sparrow ancestor to react. The fragments struck him, causing him to cough up blood and stumble backward, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. From the collapsing gate, Wang Lin's figure flashed out, retreating quickly. Behind him, the sacred land's destruction grew even more violent, releasing a boundless force of annihilation from the entrance. The Palm Sovereign's low growl echoed within, his figure flashing as he emerged from the devastation and pursued Wang Lin. Despite his severe injuries, he was still able to chase him down. As he charged forward, the Palm Sovereign raised his right hand and slammed it forward, creating another massive palm print that rumbled after Wang Lin, on the verge of destroying him. At this critical moment, Wang Lin, blood spilling from his mouth, eyes pale, quickly formed hand seals. The wind and rain summoning realm appeared around him. As it manifested, it collided with the palm print. With a resounding crash, the wind and rain summoning realm shattered. Wang Lin spat out blood, and his body suddenly flashed with white light. As he left the gates of the sacred land, he appeared deep within the center of the cultivation star, radiating endless brilliance. The light condensed around him, forming a massive shadowy image. The divine art of Blue Dream Dao Sovereign, the light and shadow shield. As soon as the light and shadow shield appeared, it was struck by a palm print. The shield flickered violently, its light refracting in all directions, but ultimately, it only lasted for a split second before collapsing with a loud bang. Countless shards of light and shadow were sent flying. Wang Lin's face turned ashen as he spat out blood again. Seeing the palm print about to land on him, Wang Lin let out a low roar. The ancient god star mark on his forehead suddenly shifted, and from the first star, the celestial emperor furnace burst forth with a tremendous boom. The celestial emperor furnace appeared around Wang Lin, forming a protective barrier. It collided violently with the incoming palm print. A deafening hum rang out, and Wang Lin staggered backward, blood spilling from numerous wounds across his body. Despite the force of the palm print, the celestial emperor furnace did not collapse, but its power was so overwhelming that it failed to maintain its form and was driven into Wang Lin's forehead. Let's see how you resist, how you escape. The palm sovereign, who was in hot pursuit, sneered with murderous intent in his eyes. The palm print was now less than 7 feet away from Wang Lin, and the oppressive force emanating from it caused his soul to tremble as though his essence spirit was about to be forced out of his body. In this moment of dire peril, Wang Lin suddenly raised his right hand and placed it in front of him. Instantly, an aura of ancient god energy surged from his right arm, forming into a protective gauntlet. The ancient god artifact forged from the bones of the ancient gods. The moment the gauntlet appeared, the palm print landed on it, erupting with a series of explosive booms. Wang Lin spat out 7 mouthfuls of blood in quick succession. The cultivation star, unable to withstand the repeated shocks, shattered into pieces. The entire cultivation star fragmented into countless fragments, with deep cracks appearing across the surface as if a water balloon had burst apart, the explosion echoing through the heavens. Wang Lin's body was flung backward, piercing through the collapsing core of the planet. He continued to retreat, passing through the shattered cultivation star, and appeared in the starry skies of the primordial stars. His body was almost on the verge of collapse, his physical form severely damaged, and his essence spirit growing weak. Fortunately, his body was that of an ancient god, or the sheer force of the impact would have been enough to end his life. Even so, he had directly blocked the palm sovereign's strike. Still not dead? The palm sovereign, stepping forward in the starry sky, raised his right hand again, striking forward with even greater speed and pressure. Another palm print emerged, hurtling straight toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's face twisted in agony as he raised his left hand to slam it down on the gauntlet of his right arm, shouting, 8-star ancient god, life-preserving technique, ancient blessing. The ancient god power within Wang Lin surged at an astounding speed, all flowing into the gauntlet. The moment his words fell, the starry sky warped as a massive aura of ancient god energy suddenly spread through the heavens. From afar, an ancient god, as large as the cultivation star itself, appeared before Wang Lin. This ancient god was translucent, exuding an overwhelming sense of antiquity, with countless battle scars across its body, suggesting it had survived countless wars. With its back turned toward the palm sovereign and the palm print, its arms wrapped around Wang Lin, embracing him as if protecting a child. The sensation emanating from the ancient god was warm and comforting, much like being cradled by a parent. In its embrace, even if the heavens were to collapse, the parents would shield their child. In the blink of an eye, the moment the ancient god appeared, the palm sovereign's palm print came crashing down, directly landing on the back of the ancient god. The explosive sound echoed through the starry sky, but the ancient god remained motionless. The palm print shattered upon contact, as if the impact was no more than the brushing of a fly against its body. This sudden turn of events caused the palm sovereign's eyes to narrow, and he prepared to unleash his divine abilities. But before he could act, the ancient god moved. The ancient blessing, the life-preserving divine art for the young ancient gods, was not just a defense. The massive ancient god, as the palm sovereign's gaze contracted, suddenly turned. With a clenched fist, as if mimicking the motion of turning back, the ancient god punched forward toward the palm sovereign with terrifying speed. 8 spinning stars clearly appeared on its forehead. With a deafening crash, the ancient god's fist collided with the palm sovereign, not giving him any chance to evade. The punch was like a colossal meteor, smashing directly into the palm sovereign. The palm sovereign's face turned pale as he spat out blood. He was utterly wounded, his body tumbling backward with a horrible groan. The punch not only struck him but also shattered his suppressed injuries from the vermilion bird beak and the ancient umbrella. After tens of thousands of years of careful treatment, all his wounds erupted at once. After the punch, the ancient god's figure dissipated, turning back into the gauntlet, which merged back into Wang Lin's right arm, disappearing without a trace. A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He should have fled without hesitation at that moment, but instead, with a wave of his right hand, a surge of bloodlight erupted. Among all the treasures that had been taken from him before he left the sacred land, the blood sword burst forth with a roar, shooting straight toward the retreating Palm Sovereign in the distance. With a thunderous crash, the Palm Sovereign produced an unknown artifact just as the blood sword neared, successfully blocking it. The sword recoiled violently. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. His injuries were far too severe. He was surviving on sheer willpower alone. If that thread of breath were to break, he would collapse instantly. Without pause, he grabbed the recoiling blood sword and rushed forward in a desperate attempt to escape. But just as he prepared to use the shrinking earth technique to flee, the Palm Sovereign's weakened voice echoed through the starry sky. That voice, that offer, landed in Wang Lin's ears like a thunderclap, halting him in his tracks. Wang Lin. Wang Lin, you're bold yet meticulous, ruthless and decisive, cunning to the extreme. Will you become my servant? If you agree, I can bring your wife back to life. Not just awaken her soul, but truly resurrect her. Wang Lin's mind buzzed. It was as if lightning struck his soul. He stood frozen, eyes wide with madness, staring at the middle-aged man clutching his chest in the distance. If that day it had been Sima Imo instead of me, if it had been Wano instead of his sister, what choice would I have made? Maybe that day has come. This earth-shaking revelation exploded into a raging tidal wave within Wang Lin's mind, blurring everything the Palm Sovereign said, except for the final 4 words, which ripped through his body like thunder and lightning and plunged deep into his soul. Bring your wife back. I know you've begged countless cultivators to revive her, and none have succeeded. You doubt me. You think I'm too wounded to make this happen. And you're right. Even at my peak, I couldn't do it. But my master, he is a peer of the ancient immortal venerables. Even in the primordial era, his name carried immense weight. I will beg my master. I'll seek out the realm of living souls, slaughter a myriad trillion lives, seize their souls, and forge them into the seal of immortality. Not only can your wife be revived, but so can your son. Wang Lin stood there stunned, mind roaring, unable to speak. His injuries had pushed him to the brink, his body trembled, and with his breath escaping him, he coughed up blood. As long as you agree to become my servant, I will help you make it all happen. The Palm Sovereign's voice was still weak, but it carried an overwhelming power, flooding into Wang Lin like a tide. Struggle filled Wang Lin's eyes, more intense than he'd ever felt before. Neither the offer from Blue Dream Dao Sovereign nor the words of the first-generation Vermilion Bird could compare to this moment. Nothing had ever struck so directly at the reverse scale of his heart. It pierced into his Dao heart like a moon fishing in the well strike, pulling forth the soul of his beloved Xun'er. Wang Lin would do anything to bring Li Muan back. He'd risk everything. When there was no hope, he clung to dreams. Now, with even the faintest hope before him, it weighed on him like a mountain, pressing down with the force of 10,000 tons. His face twisted with inner conflict, a storm surging inside. Become my servant, the Palm Sovereign said. You'll surpass even Sima. Surpass Qing Shui and Qing Lin. You will stand at the peak of death warriors, my most promising successor. If you agree, I will grant you a Dao title, Lin Shangzi. Your entire life has been for one goal, bringing your wife and son back. My master can make it happen. And if you still don't believe me, I'll have him resurrect your wife first. Let you reunite with her. Only then, you can decide. Wang Lin's face turned ashen. His struggle had reached its peak. A voice inside his head roared wildly, shaking every fiber of his being. Say yes. Become the Palm Sovereign's man. Wano will live again. Wang Lin, your entire cultivation journey has been for her, hasn't it? Say yes. After 1,500 years of separation, you can reunite. Even Wang Ping can come back. You could be a family again. Hasn't that always been your greatest wish? Say yes. So what if it means becoming the Palm Sovereign's slave warrior? So what if you must follow his every order? Compared to Wana's life, what's your freedom worth? Say yes. Become the next Sima. Betray the inner realm, cut ties with Situ Nan, with Qing Shui, with all your Taoist friends, stand on the opposite side forever. The voice grew louder and louder, until it became a deafening roar inside Wang Lin's mind. His body instinctively took several steps back. Bloodshot veins spread through his eyes, his body trembled violently, and his spirit teetered on the brink of collapse. The struggle, the choice, it surged like a flood, threatening to drown him completely. If one day the Palm Sovereign commands me to kill Xun'er, what would I do? If one day he orders me to burn Qing Shui, how would I face it? If one day he sends me to invade the inner realm, how could I bear to see all those familiar faces? Joey, Joru, Big Head, everyone. If one day he demands I harm the second-generation vermilion bird, would I be able to raise my hand? Wang Lin's face twisted into a tragic smile, blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, a sight that was as horrifying as it was heart-wrenching. His heart felt as though it were being torn in two, the pain so intense that words could never fully describe it. Xun'er was his everything. She was his reverse scale. He could not allow anyone to harm her. For her, Wang Lin was willing to give up everything. He had even been willing to forego his life just to bring her back to life. Now, he would risk his life without hesitation. Yet, there were some things far more important than his own life. There were bonds that one could not sever, no matter what. A person's life, aside from love, is also entwined with the debts they owe to others. From now on, the soul-refining sect is yours. On the Vermilion Bird Star, the deceased Dun Tian patriarch of the soul-refining sect, with a kind smile on his face, placed the soul banner, an invaluable treasure of the sect, into Wang Lin's hands. Passing on the sect's legacy and its incense inheritance to his shoulders, before closing his eyes with a smile. Xun'er had forsaken the possibility of obtaining heaven-defying. He had been with Wang Lin for hundreds of years, teaching him cultivation since his childhood. He was not only a mentor but also a father, a brother, and a friend. Without Situ, how could Wang Lin exist? Wang Lin had once said to him, this was his deepest gratitude to Situ. In my life, I, Wang Lin, will never bow to heaven and earth, only to Situ. Joey, a man obsessed with love throughout his life, whose mastery of magic couldn't hide the obsession he carried for 1,000 years. In his final act, he sent Wang Lin an opportunity to evade a great calamity, enabling him to avoid his most formidable tribulation in this lifetime. Zhou Yi's obsession with Qing Shuang had sealed his fate. Had Wang Lin chosen differently, the future would have been one of tragic battles. In my life, I, Zhou Yi, wish for nothing more than to walk through the years with Qing Shuang by my side. Brother Qin Shui, cold on the outside but warm on the inside, once he accepted Wang Lin as the successor of Bai Fan, spared no effort to protect him. No one was allowed to harm a hair on Wang Lin's head, even if it meant going to war for him. He is my disciple, and no one shall harm him. If you touch a single hair on his body, I, Qing Shui, will take your life. Qing Shui's madness, the grief of killing his wife, clearly stemmed from an external conspiracy. Once he learned that the disciple he had sworn to protect had become the very pawn, the slave warrior, of those who had driven him to madness, how much more pain would he feel? And the fifth-generation vermilion bird, despite being at the end of its life, still healed Wang Lin's wounds. It entrusted him with the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect, its kindly gaze burning eternally in Wang Lin's heart. I, Lu Yun, have devoted my entire life to the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect. Even as I return to the void, I can leave with a smile. You are good, very good. Please, take care of the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect. The dignity of the fifth-generation Elder Saint Emperor was what Wang Lin respected. With both gratitude and reverence, he could not face the kind old man who had passed. His anger, disappointment, and unblinking gaze of sorrow spoke volumes. The second-generation Vermilion Bird, in the brief time they had interacted, had shown him a cheerful smile, appreciative looks, and unreserved affection for Wang Lin. The blood offering, the trials, and even the questioning of the first-generation Vermilion Bird, every act was one of love. The teachings of the Fire Sparrow clan's most powerful technique, the Burning World Ancient Umbrella, had been passed on, despite defying the will of the first-generation Vermilion Bird. Little fellow, don't forget, when we meet again, you must choose well. Choose a child strong enough to inherit the seventh generation of Vermilion Birds. You look so cold, but I didn't expect you to have been mischievous in the past. What a pity, what a pity. I just can't understand why dual cultivation is so good. So many people, so many. How could Wang Lin choose to give them all up with a single decision? The memories of Si Maja flooded Wang Lin's heart and mind, each scene as though it were his own. When he saw Si Maja's life, It felt as if he were seeing his own reflection. Now, Sima was Wang Lin's future. Sima, in order to resurrect his sister, had given up on the Breaking Heaven sect, abandoned the inner realm, and renounced all his brothers and sisters. He had even abandoned his own soul to become the slave of the Palm Sovereign, to fight for him. If the Palm Sovereign pointed a finger, Sima would even raise his butcher's knife with tears in his eyes, even against his former master. If Wang Lin had not seen Sima's memories, his choice might have been far more difficult. If he had not gone through the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's suggestion or heard the words of the first-generation Vermilion Bird, perhaps Wang Lin would never have been able to make the greatest decision of his life. A painful but necessary choice. After seeing Sima's memories, Wang Lin had asked himself what he would do if this day ever came. But he never expected it would arrive so quickly. This day, like a calamity. Fortunately, Sima's memories gave Wang Lin a path that felt as though it were his own. I don't want to become Sima, Wang Lin muttered softly, his eyes filled with struggle, which was soon replaced by pain, though this pain radiated a certain resolve. I don't want to become your slave warrior. I don't want to betray the kindness of those who have helped me because of my choice. Love is a pain I can't sever. It's everything I've cultivated for. But my life isn't just about love. Like Sima, sacrificing everything for family, enduring the scorn of 1,000 men. Wang Lin respects that. But I fear the choice. I fear facing those who have been kind to me. Even if my wife and children wake up, we would become puppets. I won't choose. Perhaps your master really can make my wife and children wake up, but if he can, so can I, Wang Lin. My wife and child, I will resurrect them myself. Wang Lin raised his head and glanced at the Palm Sovereign, who was still frozen in place at the distance. He turned around and transformed into a long rainbow streak, carrying a sorrowful aura, and flew far away into the endless starry sky. No one saw the two crystalline tears that silently slid down the corners of Wang Lin's eyes, falling into the vast starry sea, vanishing without a trace. Xun'er, Pinger, will you blame me? If it weren't for Blue Dream Dao Sovereign forcing Wang Lin to face his first choice, and if it weren't for the first-generation Vermilion Bird making him undergo his second trial, his Dao heart and belief would never have reached the level of a Grandmaster. More importantly, if he hadn't entered Sima's memories and seen images that were strikingly similar to his own life, yet with completely different choices, perhaps Wang Lin would have chosen to stay, becoming a slave to the Palm Sovereign. The Palm Sovereign's words had struck Wang Lin's fatal weakness. Even after leaving the Fire Sparrow clan's territory, even though the shockwaves from the collapse of the sacred land of the Fire Sparrow clan spread like a fiery storm, destroying almost half of the Fire Sparrow clan's tribes, the flames rising behind Wang Lin were immense. The rumbling sounds echoed faintly, shaking the starry sky. Yet Wang Lin remained lost in thought, unmoved by it all. His heart felt like it was being torn apart, a pain assaulting his entire body. Time passed, how much? Wang Lin didn't know, but gradually, the confusion in his eyes faded, replaced by a dullness. His injuries had reached the point where he needed to heal, or his cultivation would irreversibly regress. At his level of cultivation, ordinary injuries were not a problem. But a severe injury, if not dealt with, could be catastrophic. A slight mistake would cause a drop in cultivation. Fortunately, as an ancient god, his physical body had an extraordinary healing ability. This was the most significant difference between Wang Lin and other cultivators. While others might need a century to recover from the same injuries, he could recover in a much shorter time. Xun'er, believe me, I will awaken you with my own hands. And then, together with Pinger, we will live in a remote village where no one knows us, quietly spinning our lives. Wang Lin murmured. He suddenly longed for home, longed for the starry sky of the inner realm. Though the primordial stars were vast, they never gave him a sense of belonging. Here, in the boundless star sea, there was no visible boundary, only the endless dark sky, speckled with brilliant stars. But there was no warmth, only coldness. All he felt was the overwhelming loneliness in his heart. Wang Lin's life had been a journey through loneliness for 2,000 years. He had long grown accustomed to solitude, to emptiness. The indifference on his face was not an act, but the result of thousands of years of solitude, during which he had forgotten how to show any other expression. The only thing he could do was remain indifferent, and even his smile had become rare. The only constant in his eyes was the deep sorrow hidden beneath the indifference, a sorrow that accompanied him throughout his life, leaving no room for happiness. In the midst of this bitterness, Wang Lin's injuries worsened. He staggered a step forward, shrinking the distance with his technique, traveling an immeasurable distance. In a corner of the starry sky, Wang Lin's figure appeared on a ruined cultivation star. This cultivation star, once glorious, possibly home to powerful cultivators, had now lost all its former grandeur. Its once proud cities were now nothing but lifeless, barren places without spiritual energy. It was like an old man who had reached the end of his life, gasping for breath, unwilling to release his final breath. The eastern part of this cultivation star was in the grip of autumn's chill. The wind stirred the fallen leaves, their withered yellow color resembling the age spots on an old man's face, carrying a sense of desolation. As the autumn leaves danced in the wind, Wang Lin saw, through the yellowing foliage, a river flowing serenely in the distance. The water rushed, winding northward. Beside the river, a figure in white sat silently, letting the fallen leaves blow past. Wang Lin gazed at the water, watching a few autumn leaves, perhaps tired from the wind, floating on the river. After being carried away, they slowly drifted into the distance, their edges damp from the water. Falling leaves returned to their roots, but the ones that landed on the water would never return home. Who knew where they were headed? Perhaps after several seasons, they would become part of the riverbed, and if they had souls, those souls might float out of the river and return to their homeland. The river reflected Wang Lin's image, clearly showing his pale face, his indifferent expression, and the sadness in his eyes, which seemed to merge with the flowing water, carried away by the current. It's time to go home. Wang Lin whispered softly. The path home, aside from the sealed realm Grand Array, had another option, the rift in the 9th-tier star domain of the Cloud Sea. It was linked to a jade slip given by that mysterious woman. Back then, she had said she needed Wang Lin's help to explore a certain place, and handed him this jade slip. She told him that once he was in the outer realm, he could activate the slip to bypass the sealed realm Grand Array and return through the rift. Wang Lin had studied the slip many times. It was laden with restriction seals, some so intricate that even he couldn't fully decipher them. Many of these seals seemed unlike anything cultivators of this realm could create. They appeared to originate from an entirely different world. Still, Wang Lin was a master of restriction seals. Even if he couldn't completely unravel them, he could tell that the jade slip had a 70% chance of teleporting him back through the rift. Holding the slip, Wang Lin chose not to activate it. Instead, he returned it to his storage dimension. The slip's activation required a certain level of cultivation, not the main issue. The real reason was that, in his current state, Wang Lin would not let himself appear before that mysterious woman, whose allegiance was still unknown. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin looked up at the blue sky and murmured to himself, "Is he really the Palm Sovereign?" He had heavily wounded the middle-aged man within the 7-colored flames, and that man had admitted to being the Palm Sovereign. Yet now that his thoughts had calmed, Wang Lin found himself filled with doubt. The man's cultivation fluctuated erratically. He could stand against the vermilion bird source spirit, wield the moonfishing in the well technique, and even use the 4 great emptiness. He knew about Simaja, and even Wang Lin's name. All evidence pointed to the endlessly scheming Palm Sovereign. He cultivates fire, and can manifest a 7-colored vermilion bird. He should be the 3rd-generation Sin Sparrow, but is he truly the Palm Sovereign? Wang Lin had once concluded that the Sin Sparrow was the Palm Sovereign because, within the ancient star of antiquity, the Palm Sovereign's origins were shrouded in mystery. No one knew his race or identity. There was also something else. Back in the land of demonic spirits, Wang Lin had encountered someone he later learned was the Palm Sovereign's disciple, someone who wielded fire techniques. And those fire techniques weren't something ordinary cultivators could master to that degree. They were nearing the threshold of origin source comprehension. All of this had led Wang Lin to a bold conclusion. The 3rd-generation Sin Sparrow was the Palm Sovereign. That was also why the Council of Elders dared not act rashly. They were aware of the true nature of the Land of Falling Stars. Yet now, after having met the supposed Palm Sovereign face to face, Wang Lin couldn't shake his doubts. Qing Lin once said the Palm Sovereign's origin source was the primordial force. But this man never displayed any divine art related to the primordial force. More importantly, someone who has cultivated for tens of thousands of years, schemed against the entire inner realm, and earned the title of Palm Sovereign. This man didn't exude the aura of a ruthless overlord. In fact, he didn't even feel overwhelmingly powerful. Wang Lin furrowed his brow. Despite pondering for a long time, he still had no answers. Letting out a light sigh, he stopped dwelling on the matter. Instead, he took out the last of his medicinal pills from his storage pouch, swallowed them all, and sat down to cultivate, eyes closed, breathing slowly. The autumn wind blew gently, and Wang Lin's figure slowly blurred, as if melting into the surrounding river and fallen leaves. Even if another cultivator passed by, they wouldn't have noticed someone sitting at the riverbank. Time slipped by. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. During that time, the injuries to Wang Lin's essence spirit had not improved, but at least they hadn't worsened. His physical body, however, had recovered more than half. Even without using his divine arts, the strength he could now draw from his 6-star ancient god body was about 50% of his peak. Wang Lin knew time was tight. The man he had wounded, suspected to be the Palm Sovereign, would surely cause a storm across the ancient star of antiquity. Especially since Wang Lin carried the ancient pursuit decree and had just left the land of falling stars, there would be pursuers. As for the land of falling stars itself, he was certain that the moment he left, someone had placed a sealing barrier around it. If he tried to return, he'd never make it back and only walk into a trap. So, he had to seize every moment to recover his strength as fast as possible. But on this day, just as Wang Lin was cultivating, his eyes suddenly snapped open. A cold glint flashed through them. An inexplicable sense of dread swept over him, an instinctive warning, born of countless years of cultivation. Something's wrong. Wang Lin stood up, sweeping his gaze around. His expression grew darker. At some point, everything had gone silent. Even the autumn wind had vanished. It was night now. A bright moon hung high in the sky, its light cascading across the ground. Wang Lin clearly saw that the river's surface rippled with fine, trembling waves, like shivering ripples radiating outward. The fallen autumn leaves on the river, too, had started to spin slowly, forming quiet circles. Without hesitation, Wang Lin took a step forward. Heaven and earth twisted, ripples echoed outward. By all rights, his body should have dispersed into the world with that single step. Yet in that very instant, just as his form was about to merge with the world, the sky suddenly roared, and the colors of heaven and earth shifted. A massive rift abruptly swept across the sky. An overwhelming pressure descended upon the seemingly ordinary, abandoned cultivation star. From within that rift, a colossal hand burst forth with astonishing speed, reaching directly for Wang Lin, who was on the verge of merging with the heavens. It all happened in a flash. The moment Wang Lin's body was forced out by the wolf-like howl, that massive hand came crashing down. It was as though every move had been meticulously calculated, from locating Wang Lin, to predicting he would use the shrinking earth technique to escape, to deploying this unknown divine art or treasure to emit that deafening wolf howl, severing Wang Lin's route of retreat. And in that same heartbeat, the arm lunged forward. The aura radiating from the arm was infused with the power of devotional power. This was not a second-step cultivator. No, it was a third step. More precisely, someone who had just entered the third step, early void nirvana stage, just like C. Maja and Waterpath Master. Especially within that aura, there was a savage fury locked onto Wang Lin. Without a moment's delay, Wang Lin spun around. With a sharp wave of his right hand, a fingernail suddenly appeared in his palm. Pitch black and sinister, it radiated an eerie chill the moment it emerged. When touched by moonlight, the nail seemed to wail with sorrow and torment. This was the venomous artifact gifted to him by the great Baron Sage, out of regard for the old vermilion bird. Without a second thought, Wang Lin raised his hand and flung the nail. It whistled through the air, streaking toward the approaching hand. Everything happened in an instant, so fast it defied belief. In the blink of an eye, the nail stirred up a gust of black wind and collided with the palm. With a thunderous explosion, the nail pierced through the hand. Then it shattered violently, and at that moment of destruction, an ink-like venom spread in an instant, surging up from the palm and into the arm. A cold autumn breeze blew. The arm trembled violently, then dissolved into black ash and vanished. The nail's power far exceeded Wang Lin's expectations. Though the hand was destroyed, the wild energy it carried struck Wang Lin squarely, causing him to cough up blood. With a fierce expression, he waved his hand again, this time sending out the ancient breath leaf like a meteor, hurling it toward the rift in the sky. Seal. The ancient breath leaf expanded wildly in the wind, 10 zhang, 100, 1,000, until it slammed into the rift and sealed it shut. As a furious roar echoed from the other side of the rift, Wang Lin took another step forward. His body vanished into the heavens, disappearing instantly with the shrinking earth technique. 3 breaths after his departure, The ancient breath leaf sealing the sky shattered into countless shimmering lights and vanished without a trace. Amid the starry skies of the ancient star of antiquity, Wang Lin stepped forth again. His expression was grim as he formed a hand seal and muttered, "Falling leaves return to roots." At once, shimmering light materialized in front of him, coalescing into the ancient breath leaf, which he grasped in hand. A cold gleam flashed through his eyes as his body shot forward. He once again used the shrinking earth technique and vanished. In my current state, I can't return to the Cloud Sea Rift. The Council of Elders' pursuit will resume. So be it. My life has always danced on the edge of danger. Let's see how many third-step great powers the so-called ancient pursuit decree can draw out. I'll use the devouring art to restore my cultivation while being hunted. Wang Lin sneered coldly. Back on the abandoned cultivation star, within the sky's rift, after the ancient breath leaf dissipated, a figure stepped out. A towering man, 3 zhang tall, with a bare upper body and a savage expression. Cold light gleamed in his merciless eyes, and at the center of his brow was a terrifying mark, an azure wolf head. He belonged to one of the 4 great ferocious clans under the Council of Elders, the Fodian Wolf clan. And he wasn't alone. Seated on his shoulder was a girl dressed in red. Her beauty was captivating, her features like a blooming peach blossom. Every glance and gesture brimmed with enchanting allure. She too bore a mark on her brow, a strange rune. If Wang Lin were present, he would instantly recognize it as the symbol of the mysterious Seal Annihilation clan from the ancient star of antiquity. Back in the Rainbow Realm, Wang Lin had encountered an elder from the Seal Annihilation clan, who had nearly brought him to the brink of death. That terrifying Taoist art still haunted his memories. This girl, however, had not yet stepped into the 3rd step. Her cultivation had only reached the 3rd heavenly decay. In her hands was a compass plate, which she toyed with before glancing up with a soft laugh. Due east, 197,845 li. But with your right arm poisoned, your strength has dropped by 30%. If I hadn't helped, that poison would have been impossible to expel. The man snorted coldly and took a single step forward. With a booming tremor, heaven and earth shook. The abandoned cultivation star beneath them crumbled and shattered, breaking into pieces in an instant. The cultivation star was on the brink of collapse under a single step of the Great Han's void power, rumbling as it crumbled. As it shattered, a massive shockwave spread out. However, before it could extend further, the Great Han waved his left hand, and the shock was suddenly condensed in his palm, transforming into a rapidly flickering illusory light sphere, which he hurled into the starry sky. The light sphere landed in the void, causing a thunderous explosion, distorting and tearing apart the void, creating an unstable black hole. The Great Han took a step forward and directly stepped into the black hole. Wang Lin was traversing the primordial stars using the shrinking earth technique. The moment he appeared, he suddenly raised his right hand and unhesitatingly flicked the ancient breath leaf behind him. At that instant, a swirling black hole tore open in the starry sky behind him. Within it, the figure of the Great Han from the Fodian Wolf clan materialized. But the moment the black hole swirl appeared, the ancient breath leaf fell right onto it. Seal. Wang Lin's indifferent words echoed, though his eyes flashed with an imperceptible gleam as he vaguely saw the woman on the Great Han's shoulder. His mind shuddered as he saw the imprint on her forehead. Without a sound, Wang Lin took a step forward, vanishing from sight. Roars echoed wildly from the black hole, and crashing sounds reverberated. However, the ancient breath leaf remained unmoved. Moments later, a black hole swirl appeared again nearby, and the Fodian Wolf clan Great Han stepped out with a grim expression, turning to look at the ancient breath leaf. The instant his gaze passed over, the leaf dissolved into crystalline light and vanished. Damn, what kind of treasure is this? Why didn't Sima mention this during his battle with this person? And Yun Luo, after returning, immediately went into seclusion. You shouldn't underestimate this person. If not for his severe injuries with your cultivation, capturing him wouldn't be so easy. The young woman chuckled softly, glancing down at the compass in her hand. Northwest, 378,496 miles. The Great Han shot a cold glance at the young woman on his shoulder. Despite his cultivation reaching the 3rd step, he didn't want to offend her too much. This woman was one of the attendants of Mystic Tone Dao Sovereign, one of the 5 ancient sovereigns, and had suddenly appeared to help him capture someone. Your master must be heading to the ancient burial ground. You suddenly seek me out. What is your purpose? Speak now. The Great Han spoke slowly, not in a hurry to pursue Wang Lin. It's not certain it's the ancient burial ground, but according to some ancient records, it's vaguely suggested. Let's not talk about the master. Many powerful cultivators of the primordial stars have gone there too. Oh, enough of that. The person has already traveled over 100,000 miles. If you don't hurry, he will escape far away. The young woman smiled, her expression more charming. The great Han remained silent, staring coldly at the young woman. All right, I'll speak. Once we capture him, I need you to take something from him. If you agree, Dao Sovereign will grant you a 6th grade Dao Spirit as a reward. The young woman winked and chuckled lightly. The great Han remained silent for a moment, then took a step forward. Northwest, 279,861 miles. Oh, it's one of your Photon Wolf Clan's branch tribes. The great Han snorted coldly and stepped forward, tearing through the void with a loud boom. His figure instantly disappeared. In the starry sky of the primordial stars, Wang Lin emerged from the distortion. In front of him were 6 cultivation stars arranged in a circle, surrounded by an array of light. Clearly, this was a tribal area within the primordial stars. At a glance, on the array outside the 6 cultivation stars, an illusory wolf head flashed menacingly, as if warning all cultivators passing through this area which tribe it belonged to. Wolves. Wang Lin recalled the wolf howls that had come from the fissure in the sky of the abandoned star. With a grunt, Wang Lin sped up, heading straight for the 6 cultivation stars. As he moved forward, he suddenly unleashed a mist of blood, which grew thicker and thicker, eventually enveloping his entire body, making it seem as though his physical form was dissolving. His essence, spirit, soul, and everything else were transformed into this devouring, world-consuming crimson mist. In the blink of an eye, the blood mist expanded thousands of feet, rapidly spreading and charging toward the Photon Wolf Clan's branch tribe. The array above them flickered violently, but it couldn't stop the blood mist from invading. The blood mist Wang Lin had turned and surged into one of the cultivation stars. A series of horrific screams erupted, echoing through the heavens, but in just moments, all sounds abruptly ceased, plunging the area into complete silence. All cultivators above a certain level of power within the area were engulfed by the mist and reduced to blood, completely devoured. The blood mist surged, heading toward the remaining cultivation stars. The screams, originally unable to escape the stars, now resounded through the sky as the numbers mixed together, amplifying the horrifying sound. These 6 cultivation stars are the newly established branch tribes of the Photon Wolf Clan. There are no mortals on them yet, only the clan members. At this moment, they are being swept by the crimson mist, and most of them are already dead. In the starry sky, a black hole twisted and ripped open. A mighty man from the Photon Wolf Clan stepped out. As he did, the chilling, tragic screams mixed together and instantly reached his ears. The man's body trembled, and a murderous intent exploded in his eyes. With a low growl, the man charged forward frantically, causing the starry sky to tremble with a collapsing sound as if it was being torn apart with each of his steps. Behind him, a gigantic ethereal blue wolf appeared, its vicious form looming in the void.